Hello and welcome to today's edition of Extraordinary Outcomes. I'm Shubhanjan Sarkar, your host and founder of Pitchling, the buyer-seller engagement platform. One of the biggest stumbling block in smooth buyer-seller communication is the ability to talk to all the stakeholders and for our champion in the buyer side to effectively communicate the value proposition to her team. It is next to impossible to get follow-up meetings with more influential team members, very complex for the entire buying committee to carry on conversation with the vendor side between multiple mail threads, umpteen collateral spread across various cloud drives, or for that matter, multiple vendors sharing multiple rounds of content and information. It is a big mess that the buyer has to manage. Pitchling helps manage all content and communication on a single unique link with secure buyer-side conversation, not visible to the vendor, and a buyer-side analytics showing team engagement to all members of the buying committee. What's more, each member of the buyer's team can follow, engage, or even opt out when they want without missing a beat. Want to know more? Sign up for a free one-on-one session, link in the attachments. In this episode, we continue our series of conversations with authors who wrote seminal books on sales that helps us understand the buyer better. Our guest today is Andrea Wards, the co-author of the best-selling book, Go for No. Yes is the destination, no is how you get there, and also the co-founder of Courage Crafters Incorporated. For almost 2 decades, Andrea has been teaching people in virtually every business and industry how to think and feel differently about failure, rejection, and the word no to achieve their goals and dreams. A member of one of the highest regarded professional groups of women in sales, Women Sales Pros, Andrea is considered a top sales influencer online, featured on lists curated by HubSpot, Salesforce, LiveHive, and many others. The book Go for No reached number 1 on Amazon's sales and selling list in 2010 and has remained in top 50 sales books for the last 11 years. The Go for No strategy has been featured in online and offline magazines and journals, including Success Magazine, Inc., Forbes, and many others. Today, Go for No is a well-known methodology in the world of sales and widely recognized as the singular best program that deals with rejection in business. Let's go behind the scenes with Andrea and take a look at what went into Go for No. Andrea, welcome to the show. I'm so glad that we are talking about this book because I think it's so important. You do write as a note to your introduction that this is not only for sales folks, it's for everybody. And I see the point. So yeah, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited about our discussion.
Okay, tell us a bit about your work and what you're focused on now.
So our work primarily for about 20 years now has been in this very special niche of sales training, sales motivation, I guess you could call it. And the brand is something that we call Go for No. And Go for No is all about really having the courage to ask and having the understanding that if you want more yeses in your life, you need to be willing to hear more no's, that they are not opposites, they are opposite sides of the same coin. So that is fundamentally the work. We do that through online training. We do that through, sharing the message all across social media, speaking at events, and then of course the book, which we wrote over 20 years ago now as well, which is really the foundation for us, being able to share this strategy.
Wonderful. So let's go back. So 20 years is a long time. Let's go back in time and figure how did this all start? What triggered your thought that, hey, Richard, we need to go in and write this book?
Yeah. So Richard was the one who kind of coined the phrase "Go for No." He came up with it because of a mentor of his. And this is a story that we tell in the book. It actually is a story that happens to the main character in the book, but it actually happened to Richard. And it was the pivotal moment where he discovered this idea of go for no. So in our lives together, we were working in corporate jobs, and he convinced me that we should quit and go off on our own, launch our own speaking and training company. And the foundation of which was going to be to share this idea of go for no. And as part of that, he said we should also write the book. We had actually written a book by the time we wrote Go for No, we had actually self-published 2 other books, very short. One was more of a kind of sales training manual for retailers. The other one was also a fable. It was called Unlocking the Secrets of Retail Magic. And for retailers also, we really gravitate towards storytelling. We also, on the side, our side hobby is writing fiction. So for us, writing stories is actually the preferred way of communicating information, fictional stories, character development, all of that. And so when it came time, when we decided that writing the book would be the best way for us to get our message out, I was actually not sure that it should be in narrative story format. I thought it should be one of those standard, chapter 1, chapter 2, kind of step-by-step process books. And Richard was the one who said, no, I have to write this as a story.
Yeah, so you're saying that Richard was convinced that it has to be a narrative, and not like a structured book of instructions. Why was that?
I think he just felt that we could share the concepts better, for one thing, and for the other thing, the way that he learned about Go for No was a situation that happened to him, and he wanted to be able to tell that story. And when he was thinking about telling that story, he realized that if he was able to insert that story into a bigger overall story of a character who stumbled upon this philosophy kind of like he did, that it would be a more effective way for people to learn it, and that also it would resonate with them emotionally. We want people to see themselves in the main character. That was our goal. So we have a lot of setup in the beginning. Some people complain that we set up the character, we show him, we show his wife, we show his life, nothing special, kind of mediocre, average, person. But we want people to say, oh, this could be me, and what would happen if I learned this philosophy, and how could my life change?
So before I get into the narrative part, let me sort of break down what was going on in your and Richard's mind. So he had sort of had a serendipitous moment where he discovered this, he had this encounter, and he discovered this philosophy. What really was the incident which sort of changed the way he was looking at life?
Yeah, so it happened when he was selling suits for a living. He was failing at that. He was not doing well at all. He was sure they were going to fire him. And the district manager came to visit the store one day. And as it turned out, a customer walked in the store that morning who announced he wanted to buy this entire wardrobe of clothing. So Richard had the opportunity to sell this man all of these clothes while the district manager was watching him. And Richard felt that if he could perform well, that would give him some time to keep his job, right? Sure. That he would continue to improve. So he has this great sale, and he sends the customer on his way, and his mentor, and this gentleman's name was Harold, asked Richard a question after he has this great sale. And he asked Richard, out of curiosity, what did that customer say no to? And Richard said, Harold, did you not just watch the sale I had? That man bought a suit and a sport coat and shirts and ties, and it came to $1,100. Now, this goes back many, many years. So this would be maybe like spending $5,000 US today, right? And he said, he didn't say no to anything. Everything I laid in front of that man, he purchased. And then Harold asked him the really important question. He said, well, then how did you know he was done? And that was kind of the life-changing moment where Richard knew that he was the one who ended the sale. And Harold basically told him, your fear of the word no is going to kill you. If you could learn to get over that, I think you could be a great salesperson. And basically kind of told him, you need to go for no. You need to hear more no's. You need to be okay with it. And Richard tells this story when we speak live together. And he always says, which I find so funny, he says, I didn't know if I had what it took to be more successful, but I knew I had what it took to fail. I could fail my way to success. I could hear no more often. And in doing so, have the faith that the yeses would come, that the yeses would be there. So that pivotal moment happened early on in his career. And when he told me that story, I had my own internal epiphany as well. And together, that's why we love sharing the message. It does go, even though that's the foundation, the foundational story, there's so much more to it. And I think that's why we say that this message is for everybody, because we all tell ourselves no instead of getting a no from others because we don't want to be rejected.
Yeah, that's such a powerful and universal situation, isn't it? So I was just telling you before the show, as when we were chatting, that one of the biggest issues that startups have is that they keep postponing the time when they have to go and talk to the customer. And it's the exact same thing. Like, you like a girl in college and you are not going to go and propose to her because you don't want to get rejected. I mean, as long as you don't get rejected, it is real for you, right? It may not be anything there, but it's real for you. You can keep sort of imagining about it. Same thing about people who are building tools. They don't want to go to the customer because they can keep sort of enjoying that process of creation and keep pushing the rejection as far out into the future as possible. What was the kind of feedback or reaction you get when you are telling this? Because I think it relates to everybody, right?
The feedback has been fantastic over the years, but that took a while. It took a while for us to figure out how to market this message, to be honest. And I appreciate what you're saying about startups. Absolutely. If you can push off getting rejected and keep innovating and keep tweaking and keep improving, it's always off in the distance. And it's always the possibility of yes without having to deal with the no yet. It's a huge issue. I've done, podcasts for people with startups, and we've talked in depth about this. So it's definitely an issue. The marketing challenge that we created, though, is that when people initially hear go for no, they think two things. Oftentimes, one, they think that we're trying to teach people how to say no, right? That's such a popular thing these days, of needing to protect your time, and so how to say no. And of course, that's not what we're saying, although that is certainly important, I think, to learn how to say no to things that aren't on your path. Or they see it as very negative. They think, well, why would I want to get more no's? I want to get yes. This seems counterintuitive. And of course it is. This seems negative. This seems like I'm going to plant in my mind getting rejected, and then all I'll get is rejections. But of course, that is not the intention. We want people people who ordinarily hold themselves back and don't ask. We're telling them what's the worst that can happen? You get a no. So go for no. The yes is right behind it. We're not advocating, oh yes, you should hear no over and over and never get to yes. And that's why the subtitle of the book is so important. Yes is the destination. No is how you get there.
Absolutely. So let's come back to the book now. Now you have decided that you're going to write this book, and it will be a parable, a fable, a story. What happens after that? What did you do?
So my husband is a brilliant writer and very creative, and he's practiced a lot. He has written, even when we met, he had already written several screenplays. They hadn't sold, doesn't matter, but he really has that talent. And so when we finally decided that, yes, it would be a parable, a fable, and that this would be the main character, and we would tell the Go for No story as I explained it to you, and we kind of knew the main things that we would want to make sure got communicated, he just sat down and he wrote it night and day for about 17 days and got done with it. Yeah.
Oh.
Yes. He, and then he gave it to me, and I made all of the edits and the changes, and we discussed things, and we changed some things and decided on what the ending would be. The ending, the book has a little bit of a supernatural flavor to it. And I will just, and the reason I say that is what happens is that our main character goes to bed one night and he wakes up in a house, very big house, beautiful house, doesn't know where he is very confused, walks around, and he realizes that he is in a house that belongs to him. It just happens to be a future version of himself. He has traveled somehow 10 years in the future, and this amazing house belongs to the future him. And so the book actually is a conversation between the non-successful current version of himself and the future version. And they kind of work together to figure out how it is that the unsuccessful him didn't learn Go for No. It sounds a little confusing as I share it with you, but it makes a lot of sense in the book.
No, I at least for me, it's not confusing. I can totally understand, and I can totally see the influence of films and screenplays in this. So you do this all the time in films, right? So I can totally see that. So apart from the basic idea that you need to actually go for the no and get rejected so that you can refine your proposition or your value or whatever you're trying to sort of put across, and that will take you to the yes. What else did you try to communicate in the book?
So we stay very tightly around the Go for No theme. One of the things that we talk about is how to set goals. So we talk about how to set a goal for the number of no's you're going to get instead of just the number of yeses. And we give people a framework for figuring out how to set their no goal. Of course, a no goal doesn't mean, having no goal. It means literally getting a certain number of no's in a day or a week or a month. And how when you do that, one of the key lessons that we impart in that section is when you set a no goal, what happens is you focus on the behaviors necessary to get a yes or no, which means having conversations with people, asking them, would you like to buy my product or service? Would you like to invest? Would you like to learn more? Those are those Go for No, moments, those questions. And the more that we do that behavior, the more the yeses are out there. So the benefit of setting no goals is that it keeps you focused on the behavior rather than focused on the quota, which when we focus on quota, which might be, say, get 3 yeses, when we get 3 yeses, we stop. When you focus on going for no, let's say you commit to getting 10 no's today. Well, even if you got your 3 yeses by noon that day, if you hadn't gotten to 10 no's, you would still need to have more conversations. And so it would really keep you in that activity. And oftentimes we reward ourselves, for when we're on a hot streak or when things are going well. If we hit our goal, if we hit our quota, we stop immediately. So this idea of setting no goals is in part designed to keep you going.
Very, very interesting. So tell me, actually, how does it play out in real world? From what you're teaching like for many years, and you're talking to So how does it play out actually for a salesperson or for any other person for that matter? Actually trying to get a no. I mean, I can relate sort of that we try to not ask for what we want, right? For the same reason, right? Get rejected. So, for example, I say, okay, I have to ask Andrea to give me a testimonial that I'm a great podcast host, right? But I'll say, maybe not, because what if she says, oh, you're rubbish, right? So,
Right.
so how does it actually play out for others? I mean, actually, when it's getting implemented.
Exactly as you just described. It literally is whatever your process. So for me, I'll use myself as an example. My goal is to speak at companies who have sales meetings. So I might say, and Richard and I did this in our business. We do it all the time. We say we want to speak at this event. So I'm going to go for no and contact them and say, are you looking for speakers for your event? Yes or no. If I got a no, then I'd say, okay, I just got one no towards my no goal. Let's say my no goal was 5 for the day. I need to find another event and say, do you hire speakers for your event? They say, yes. And then the next thing I say is, oh, can I send you some information? No, we're not interested in you. I got my no. So can you imagine if you were to do that 5 times a day or even 1 time a day? The phrase, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. I like to say 1 no a day keeps a dying business away. Even if you were to say, I'm going to go after 1 opportunity, I'm going to make 1 ask. If you said, I'm going to reach out to 1 very successful, popular author a day, if you did that one a day, you would get a lot of no's, but you'd also end up getting some amazing guests that way.
Yeah, true.
So literally that's how it plays out, is just that simple.
I have a question which is not directly related to this, but again, because you know this space so well, people send out tons and tons of unsolicited requests in social platforms like LinkedIn, and a lot of them would not even result in a no because it will not elicit any response at all. So is this something you can relate to? Is it because the situation has changed since you originally wrote the book? The world has actually literally changed in the last 20 years. So is it that, or what is your thought on that one?
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up. So technology has made getting no harder because people are far more often willing, especially these, mass LinkedIn messages, they're far more willing to ask for meetings, for things in a kind of a mass mail sort of way. And those, to me, are unintelligent ways of going for no. Most of those, like you said, 99.9% of them are going to result in no response. The person is going to delete. They're not even considering the proposal because they know it's just a spammy message. So going for no intelligently for us means doing research, understanding your target market, trying to, at the beginning, qualify as well as you can and disqualify. Be willing to say, no, this person is not for me. Yes, this person is. And if you find out that they're not a good candidate for you, that is that disqualification part. And so the technology is a funny thing because it makes the numbers higher, but it doesn't mean that anyone's any more effective.
Yeah, I mean, we keep doing the same thing over and over, thinking the results are going to change. Part technology, part insanity. But
Yeah.
but yeah. So I think you gave me my answer. Coming back to the book, how did this 30 chapter structure come about?
Yeah, it's a lot of chapters, isn't it, for such a short book? I guess we kind of thought of the chapters as more like scenes, and a lot of the scenes are very short in terms of our characters moving from one place to another, one situation to another. And we wanted the book to feel like it was moving. So, the chapters are very short, and they're meant to convey either one of two things happens in every chapter. We cover some kind of part of the strategy, in other words, some kind of actual learning piece, or it's simply designed for character development and to move the story forward. So in every chapter, it's either one or the other, and it kind of rotates, I think, between both, because of course we want to be teaching along the way. We don't want to have all the teaching in one section and then just a bunch of story. So we have to kind of fold that together.
So you mentioned about this getting your no framework, right? I mean, the number of no's that you should be getting. Would you like to talk about a bit on that one?
Yeah, so that's really just reverse engineering the yes-no process. So if you said, I know that in order to get one yes, I have to speak to 20 people. I have to get 20 people to say yes or no to me to get that one. Then your no goal, and this obviously depends on your process and all of that,
Sure.
should be 20. Right? You know that if you get 20 no's out of that, you're going to get one yes. If you want 2 yeses, then it's 40. If you want 3 yeses, then it's 60. So you can kind of reverse engineer that process. And that's really the framework of setting no goals. There's so much that we talk about, which is one of the reasons why we created a course, because we realized there's so many other mindset things that we don't even dig into in the book, such as, one of the big ones is Richard's mental spending limit, and how when you make assumptions of what people are willing to do, what they're willing to spend, what they're willing to invest, what they're willing to say yes or no to, we all make those assumptions to protect ourselves from the rejection. That was embedded in the story, but we don't even really deal with that as a hey, this is a lesson. You need to pay attention to this. It's kind of like we hope that people get that from the story, but it's not something that we really pull out and say, you have to get this.
Yeah. It's as you said, it is counterintuitive, isn't it? Rejection is actually what will make you stronger, your ability to remain optimist about where you are going, right? I mean, it's sort of counterintuitive that the more you get rejected, you'll have the strength to actually go towards what you're going. Yes,
it reminds me a little bit of the concept of anti-fragile. The more that you are, and I always think of the analogy in my head, thinking of anti-fragile, and I think it's even mentioned, and there's, you think of a tree that's constantly blown over, but how strong the roots are. And when we fight through rejection, when we fail and we get back up and we try something else or we keep going, we just develop a strength and a resilience that we didn't have before. You learn so many lessons, and really that is how confidence is built. In fact, we were talking about the documentary that we made. One of the people that we interviewed was Jack Canfield. And during that interview, I asked him, or we were talking in general, and I was asking him questions, and he said to me that self-confidence is the successfully survived risk, which I love, because I think that's so true, that when you see that you survive, such as getting a no, maybe there's someone that a big client or someone that you want to ask to invest in your startup, and they're this big potential no, big potential yes. When you survive that, no matter what the answer is, whether it's yes or no, it builds your confidence. Absolutely. Can you share some stories of people who actually went through this and then they came back and told you, hey, I applied this and look, and what I've accomplished? Absolutely. We have so many great stories, and we get two kinds of stories. Some are just numbers stories. I made an extra $1,500. It was the most I've ever made on one single project in my life. And I made this and I made that. And those are harder to share because, it's like, I would literally need like a chart, like this person made this person made that.
True.
So we have so many of those. We have also stories of people who, were nervous and super afraid of getting no, and that they've learned over time of just going for no, that it doesn't scare them as much. And so many stories of people who have changed. Our biggest success story really is a guy named Ray Higdon. He is a really successful trainer in the direct sales industry. He read the book. He heard us speak at his company, actually. He decided he was going to get 20 no's a day. And that's what he did. And he got 20 no's a day. And he was like a machine, and he did it. And he says he didn't like doing it, but he knew he had to do it. And he became the number one earner in his company. He got over any fear of no. It didn't bother him. He learned how to prospect because of it. He got good at it. And ended up leaving that company, and he started his own business. And now it has a huge business, employs many people, super successful. He's written a few books now, and all because he just decided, I'm just going to hear more no's. And now he's, just had a ton of success.
Wonderful. So is there any way for people to watch the documentary that you made?
We have it. It's on a streaming service. Unfortunately, it was so long ago. The film quality is not great. But if you go to our website at goforno.com, and you can find information about the movie there. We did upload it to a streaming service, so you can rent the movie, or you can buy it and you can download it and watch it. It's really, I'm super proud of it. It was a lot of work. We drove 12,000 miles around America filming all these different people. So it took us about a year to put it together.
Wow. And how did you get in touch with them?
We did research online, a lot of research. We had a couple people on our team who were helping us and who knew people and would set us up. And so we literally crafted this plan of, we'll go from this city and interview this person, and then 2 days from now we'll go be in this city and we'll interview this person. And it was quite an adventure.
And how many people did you end up interviewing for that?
58.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot. On the road,
58.
That's a lot.
Yes. On the road, yeah. It took we were on the road for how long were we? I can never remember now. We used to have all the stats somewhere. At least 2 months we were on the road, and then we picked up some people at the end on a separate trip.
Right.
And so everyone in the movie only is in the movie because there's so many people, probably about 60 to 90 seconds, because we just took their pieces and put them, and we have it all in different categories of topics. Why do people fear failure, and what's more important? Tenacity, or what is that? I can't even remember the line in our own movie. It's been so long. But we ask people all these different questions, so it's fun.
Before I let you go, I'll tell you one interesting discussion I had with a gentleman called Cash Nickerson. And he wrote a book called The Samurai Listener. And the discussion was that, why is it that we are such poor listeners? Because there is no prize for great listening. So you will be a good debater, you will be a good orator. So the premise that we are setting up for children is that if you speak well, you will be you will be celebrated. But there is nothing there about being a good listener. So the connection to this thought is, we only celebrate success, right? We never celebrate failure. Definitely not in the formative days. Uh, Maybe there is a lesson there of.
I am so glad that you brought that up because that is another theme in the book. It's actually towards the end. We talk about the need to celebrate the no's and to celebrate failure, to reward actual failure, because what we're rewarding is not the result. We're rewarding, again, the behavior. We're rewarding the courageous action, which maybe this time didn't lead to a result. And you are so right. That is what we be needing to do with kids, is to reward their courage, not just the results.
Is there anything else that you would like to add?
I guess the only thing I would add is that, as we discussed in the very beginning, this is a life philosophy. So if there's things in your life that you want changed or bettered, think about your responsibility in terms of asking for those things, and be willing to ask people and let them say no to you. It's okay, but at least you will have asked.
Andrea, thank you so much.
Thank you. It was great.
Our guest next week is Sharon Drew Morgan as we bring to an end this series of Extraordinary Outcomes. Next week marks our 52nd episode of the year and the final one on the Sales Experts channel. Sharon Drew Morgan is the author of the New York Times business bestseller, Selling with Integrity, and 7 other books on how people make change decisions that may conclude in buying, as well as What? Did you really say what I think I heard? That breaks down the gap between what's said and what's heard. Sharon Drew has been developing facilitation models for over 40 years and has trained over 100,000 salespeople in her buying facilitation model.
So I created this form of question that goes beyond bias and is systemic. So I call it a facilitative question, and it's meant to help the other person figure out what they need to figure out. This was very different from sales, because sales ask questions so that the seller knows how to pitch, how to present, or what you need, which really, folks, need is not the reason people change. When was the last time you looked on the scale and you noticed you needed to lose a couple pounds, but yet never did it? Do you have a need to lose weight? Yes. Have you done anything about it? No. Need is not the issue, okay? Change, congruent change, so that excellence is at the end, is what you have to look for.
We are very excited about the upcoming launch of our new community built to bridge the gap between buyers and sellers, Moxo. It is designed for buyers, sellers, and marketers to enable access to curated content, share ideas, and engage in conversations as a community. The space will be invite only, and if you want in, please write to us at moxo@pitch.link. That is MOXO@pitch.link. Time to wrap up for today. We will take a break after our show next week, but we'll continue to send you the EXO newsletter with curated content that will help you sell better. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay well and craft extraordinary outcomes.